In the summer live, a TikTok trend brought for teenagers Ava, Leo, Marcus, and Donnie to the gates of Widows Park, an abandoned amusement park buried deep in the Kentucky hills. The trend was simple: sneak into a forgotten place, stay until 3:33 a.m., and record everything. Supposedly, that's when the veil lifts. Widows Park had been closed since August 13, 1989, when 13 people vanished during a malfunction on its Ferris wheel. The wheel never stopped spinning. Not then, now. Ava had done her research. The park's closure had been blamed on faulty maintenance and a cover-up by the owners. But conspiracy forums spoke of something darker: red-eyed attendant, a ride that moved without power, and whispers heard in the wind as the wheel spun in the dead of night. No one ever dared to come after midnight. But tonight, they would dot with cameras strapped to their chests, a drone ready to fly, and flashlights cutting through the thick summer air. The force slipped through the rusted fence, the air shifted, and somewhere, in the dark, the Ferris wheel turned. The park was a graveyard of dreams, roller coasters twisted like the bones of a dead animal. Concession stands sat crumbling beneath rot and vines. A clown statue lay face down in the mud, its paint melted into a twisted grin. And in the center of it all, the widow's wheel. It was 80 feet tall, blackened with age, each of its 13 carriages swaying gently, even though there was no wind. Power cables fed into it. No control booth stood nearby. It simply existed, like it had always been there. Leo flew the drone up toward the top of the wheel. That's when Ava screamed. On the drone's live feed, a man was sitting in one of the topmost carriages, completely still, pale, wearing the uniform of a ride attendant from the 1980s. But the part that made Donnie start crying: his jaw was missing, gone, just an open throat, and yet he was smiling. The drone crashed. Seconds later, all flashlights flickered. At once, Marcus whispered. This was a mistake. The wheel creaked and one of the carriages began to descend on its own. The carriage stopped at the bottom, open. Empty, waiting, and then a small speaker nearby crackled to life, though it was rusted through and covered in moss. A warbled voice spilled out. 1 for joy, 2 for pain. Spin again, and none remain. Ava was frozen in place. Her body moved, but her face said she wasn't in control. She stepped into the carriage. Slammed the gate locked shut behind her. The wheel moved again. Screaming, Leo and Marcus tried to pry the door open, but it was sealed tight. Ava sat perfectly still inside the carriage, staring forward, eyes glassy, lips moving but no sound came out. And then she looked up. Something was above her, a dark shape, spider-like, long limbs pressed against the carriage ceiling. It moved with her, unseen by the others, but fully visible to her. As the carriage reached the top, her flashlight lit up her face. She was crying blood. Then the carriage vanished into the fog. Just gone. Not down, not around, just ... gone. Ava was gone. No screams, no crash. No trace. The carriage that carried her had vanished mid-air, as if the sky itself had swallowed it. Donnie dropped to her knees, whispering no, 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 over and over. Leo stared up at the slowly turning wheel, its rusted arms groaning like they were made of bone. Marcus grabbed his crowbar and smashed the lock off the control panel. Nothing but corroded wires and black dust inside. Then the lights turned on. All over the park, flickering bulbs, carousel music, neon signs glowing as if no time had passed. But there was no power source. The smell of popcorn and burnt sugar drifted in the wind. Marcus pulled his phone. 3:13 a.m. We're getting Ava, and we're getting the hell out, he snapped, and then the intercom buzzed again. 2 for pain, 3 for flame. 4 must ride to break the chain. The wheel stopped. Another carriage opened, waiting. Donnie screamed and ran, but the carriage door slammed. shot nothing, and began to rise, with no one inside. But on the next turn, the seats were full, faces from the past, bloodied, Jawless, and Ava. Her eyes were black, and she was smiling. Leo and Marcus dragged Donnie to a maintenance shed behind the funnel cake stand. Inside, they barricaded the doors. But everything was wrong. The walls breathed. The shadows moved when no one did. On one shelf sat a box labeled Lost and Found. Inside, a hearing aid, a rusted wedding ringer, jawbone, 13 Polaroids each. Photos showed a different child inside the Ferris wheel carriage, smiling nervously. The last photo, Ava. A note was scribbled across the bottom. Smile for your last ride. Suddenly, the shed's lights exploded. Something dragged Donnie away. Screaming, Leo and Marcus burst out after her, but she was gone, vanished into thin air. Then they heard laughter from the funhouse across the park. Inside, the mirrors reflected things that weren't them. Marcus's reflection grinned wide and slit its own throat. Leo's showed him tied in a carriage, eyes pried open with hooks. The reflections spoke in unison. You can't leave, not until all four ride. The carousel was spinning now, the music playing in reverse. Leo was cracking. He mumbled to himself, pacing. It's just a game. It's just a trick. Someone's doing this with tech. But Marcus knew better. They found inside the House of Horrors. The last video showed her being dragged backward into the air, as if by invisible hands. Screaming for her mother, her face disappeared into the mist. The timestamp froze at 3:23 a.m. They had 10 minutes left. Leo said, if the wheel wants us, we give it what it wants. He started walking back. Marcus stopped him. No, we find the source, the power, the origin. There's always a curse, right? There's always a center. Leo turned. You still don't get it. There is no curse. Then he smiled, but his jaw detached slowly, skin tearing soundlessly. His body collapsed, jaw hitting the dirt first. Behind him, Ava stood, head cocked, eyes empty. She whispered, the wheel turns. Marcus ran past the carousel, past the haunted bumper cars now lit with ghostly blue light, past the broken food stands that all smelled suddenly fresh, like they were still serving the dead. Every light in the park now pulsed in rhythm with the Ferris wheel's slow turns. He found himself back at the entrance gate, but there was no fence, no road, only trees stood black and endless. The gate now read, thank you for riding. But he hadn't. That's when the wind spoke, not in whispers, but in voices. Every friend he'd lost, Ava, Donnie, Leo, their screams echoed in the wind, and looped, again, and again, and again. Then another voice came, a deep, hollow man's voice. Only one seat remains. The wheel must feed 13. Then it sleeps, for now. Marcus looked up. 12 carriages now turned, each one filled. All his friends were inside, and more. Children. Old men. A woman in a wedding dress. All long dead, all staring down at him, and in the center of the wheel what he had never noticed before, a cage, a black rusted iron cradle with something massive curled inside, breathing. Waiting. The 13th. Needed to ride. Marcus stumbled toward the base of the Ferris wheel. The platform was different, now new, gleaming, clean. Lights strung above glowed golden, and from the shadows stepped a ride attendant, smiling, black eyes, no jaw. The same man from the drone footage. He bowed, gestured toward the open carriage. Marcus said nothing, but he stepped forward, closer. Then he ran, ducking under the platform, into the gear room beneath the wheel. It was a cavern of rusted machinery and pulsing red light, and in the center, a pedestal. On it, a beating, disembodied heart, hooked to wires and tubes that fed into the wheel. It was pumping the ride itself. He heard Ava's voice behind him. You don't understand. Marcus. It's always been alive, always hungry. Every generation feeds it, so the town nearby stays safe. We tried to skip a cycle. We tried to bury it. Her voice grew quieter. You were never meant to come here. He grabbed the crowbar and drove it through the heart. The scream that followed wasn't human. It wasn't even from this world. The wheels shuddered. The lights burst. The park trembled like it would rip from the earth. The carriages flung open, screaming souls pouring out into the sky like smoke being sucked into a black hole. Ava, Leo, and Donnie's bodies twisted pulled into the iron cage at the wheel's center. The sleeping thing inside writhed violently, then stilled, and the entire park went dark. Silence. For the first time all night, silence. Marcus crawled out, bloodied and shaking. The sky was normal again, the road back visible, the fence repaired. He walked slowly away. The sun began to rise, but as he reached his car, something slipped into his pocket. A ticket stub, fresh, red, unburned. It read, Admit 1, return ride, and on the back, the wheel turns again. August 13th, 2045. Marcus turned toward the tree line. The Ferris wheel was gone. No park, just forest. But in the wind, something turned, something clicked, and the wind whispered. 1 for joy, 2 for pain. The 13th always rides again, always rides again.